Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. So today I'm going to be making a video. I've made a somewhat similar one before, talk about the most fun characters in Mortal Kombat 1. It was the top 10. We're going to be covering every single character. I'm going to be splitting this video up into 3 or 4 parts. Today we're going to be talking about 10 characters, hopefully. I don't actually know how long this video is going to be. For those of you who don't know, I actually make all my videos on my phone, and I do pay to have extra storage. However, if I make a bunch of 20-minute videos, my phone can't handle it. So this video I'm going to aim to have 10 to 15 minutes long. So if I have to cut it down to 6 or 7 characters, hopefully not, but there's a chance that will happen. So what today's video is going to look like, here's an example here. Now, Sub-Zero is not the last character or anything like that. He won't be appearing in today's video because he's lower on the list, but this is what it's going to look like. I'll show you some gameplay, then there's fun, strength, and difficulty, and then we're going to go through that. Now, before we do, I just want to say that YouTube's added in a hype up this video sort of feature recently. If you guys enjoy this video at any point, I'd appreciate if you did that, because it's meant to help smaller channels reach more people, and I would really appreciate it. I put a lot of effort into these videos and spend quite a bit of my own money to not really make any money in return, so to get a decent amount of views would help me out a lot, and I'd appreciate any support, whether that's a comment, subscription from you, or just hyping up the video is enough. So thank you to anyone who does any of those things, and let's get on to what is, in my opinion, the least fun character, and that has to be Homelander. Now, it goes without saying that obviously he's my least favorite, he is last, but for me, he is just a weird exception, because every other character in this game, I'm by no means a pro player, but I can get combos going with basically any character in this game aside from Homelander, and I don't know what it is. So for the fun factor, I've given him a 2, because again, I'm not a pro, but if I can't get any combos with him after 30 minutes to an hour of training, I feel like maybe it could just be me, I don't know. In terms of strength, however, he is really good. He is quite strong, he has pretty good zoning, and I think he's quite annoying to deal with. In terms of difficulty though, I've given him a 4, because I think he takes a bit of time to master, and again, he's the only character who I haven't really been able to get a grasp of yet. So for me, he's definitely one of the more difficult characters. But let me know what you think of him, because I see some people really enjoying him, and I'm glad that you do. I've shared my opinions on Homelander in the past before, and a lot of people disagree. So let me know your thoughts on him. So coming in the second last spot, I have Kenshi. He's a notoriously difficult character. Now, for his fun factor, I've given him a 3. I think that he is a bit of fun once you get the hang of him, but I just haven't got the hang of him. And I think that I can get some basic combos down, but overall I'm not very good with Kenshi, as you can see in this footage. When it comes to his strength, he used to be really good, but I feel like he's been nerfed a little bit. He's not quite as good, and he has quite a high skill ceiling almost, so it's quite difficult to get the hang of him, unless you focus pretty much solely on him for a while. In terms of difficulty, he's a 5. I think that he's really difficult, more difficult than Homelander. However, I think I just have more of a drive to learn Kenshi than I do Homelander. Either way, I think he's quite a difficult character with a decent amount of reward, but you have to work really hard to get some good combos with him, but he is really satisfying once you get that down. Geras is who I have next. This is a character that I've been really iffy on in the past. I actually wanted to main him, maybe not main him, but be one of my characters that I would have in my rotation. And I think that he has some fun air combos, which is weirdly specific. I think that his strings are quite fun, but for me, in terms of his fun, I'm giving him a 3. I think that he has potential, and I think a lot of people have reached that and can make him be one of the more fun characters in the game. But for me, there's just something missing, whether it's his special moves or something. Maybe his strings aren't that interesting to me. Either way, and it can sometimes be as well, you're just not that interested in the character, and that's why you don't want to play them. In terms of his fun, as I said, going in with a 3. When it comes to his strength, I think it's also a 3. He is fine. He isn't amazing in this game, but he's also not bad. He's just a very solid character when you look at a tier list. And then when it comes to his difficulty, I'm going with a 4. I think that he isn't that difficult. Like 5 is reserved for really difficult characters like Kenshi, but I think he has a high skill ceiling as well, but maybe not quite as much. But I will say it's a decent amount of work for not that much reward, in my opinion, and that's why I put him here. So next up we have Sindel, and this might be controversial. I know a lot of people really like her, and there's going to be a couple more controversial takes in this video. In terms of her fun, I think she's another 3. I think that she's very decent, and I think that once you get combos going, they're pretty fun. But for me, weirdly enough, she's a character that you need to work really hard with to find a cameo that works really well with her, and when you do, you can get some good damage, but I feel the timing and some of her special moves to continue combos is sort of tight. It's kind of needlessly difficult. Like after you land her scream attack, sometimes you don't have enough time to jump in and get a combo from it, which feels a little unnecessary unless you have a specific cameo you can use after it. But either way, I think she is quite fun. In terms of her strength, she is pretty good. I'm pretty sure she's like a top 5 character, or at least she used to be. I'm going to give her a 5. She is a very strong character. I haven't really been able to use her to her best potential, because once again, I'm not a pro. I just enjoy playing the game a bit, but I think that she is quite good. But in terms of her difficulty, I'm going to say 4. She takes a lot of practice, and I would even say patience, maybe more so than other characters. Maybe not as much as Kenshi, but still quite a bit of patience. But for me, she's just not worth all the effort that some characters are, which is why I put her at this point on the list. This might be my most controversial take in this video. Ermac is a character I see a lot of people really liking, and I just don't see it. I don't think he's very fun, and this is probably my least favorite version of Ermac to play, at least of the versions that I have played. I think that in terms of his fun, he isn't terrible like all the characters that have come before him in this video. His fun's about a 3. Sometimes when I can get combos going, it is relatively fun, but just not as much as other characters, and I feel like his damage is quite low unless you have a specific cameo there. And you could say the same for a lot of characters, but for me, his moves, in terms of like his base move list as well as his special moves, just aren't that fun to pull off, and finding a specific cameo to work with him has been a bit of a challenge for me. But in terms of his strength, he is pretty good. I'm pretty sure he's like A+, A tier, so he's like mid tier, not top tier, but not terrible. So I'm going to give him probably about like a 3. He's very solid. When it comes to his difficulty, I would probably also say he is a 3. And I believe he's the only character so far that's got just triple 3. I think that he's a very solid character, but I don't think he's that fun. He's relatively easy, but he has, once again, a relatively high skill ceiling, not as high as Kenshi or Sindel, but I think he can be learned quite quickly, but mastering him is going to take you a while. But strength-wise, I think he's pretty solid. Shang Tsung is next, and before I get into that, I just want to apologize. Similar to my last few videos I've made, there's actually construction going on right outside my house, and you can usually hear it. So if you hear any drill noises in the background, I'm going to try to tune it out with my voice and the background music, but if you can hear it throughout the rest of the video, I apologize. Either way, Shang Tsung is a character that, in terms of his fun, basically every character in this video is going to be a 2 or a 3. Basically every character from here on out has to be a 3 or a 4 in this video at least. And I think that Shang Tsung is a character that characters that have like 2 movesets almost are usually really hard to master, but relatively easy to learn, because if you want, you can just stick to one style. You'll just be kind of limited. Shang Tsung, in my opinion, is the most limited character in this game, unless you use his morph into his older version, which gives you more combos. However, I hate the input. This is a bit of a mini rant. The L2, at least on PlayStation, and down input just doesn't work. I click it and it just never works. At least it does work, but it's just very iffy. Like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So in terms of his fun, he is like a 3. In terms of his difficulty, I think, we'll talk about his strength first. Strength, he is a bit lacking. I think he's probably like a 2. In terms of, like, he's pretty low tier, but I don't think he's the worst in the game. One of, though, I'd say he's probably bottom 5, at the least bottom 10. But then when it comes to his difficulty, I'd say he's a 4, because, again, you need to learn both of his versions, young and old, to be able to play him at the highest level and to play him really effectively. But either way, I think he is relatively fun once you get to figure out how to play him at his highest potential. So Rain is next, and he isn't really a character I actually thought would be in this first part of the video, but when I was going through and playing as every character, I realized that he's probably one of my least favorites. Definitely a downgrade from MK11, because even then, his damage was terrible, but it still felt like Rain. Now that they've changed his story and made him a mage and all that stuff, that too, of course, changed his gameplay, and to me, he's just not as appealing anymore. I like that he has 2 launches to make his combos a bit better, but I still think his combos are really lacking. They're just not as good as most characters on the roster, again, unless you have specific cameos to extend them, which can be somewhat difficult to figure it out. When it comes to his fun factor, I'm giving him a 3. on one day I could say he's maybe a 4, but then if you ask me tomorrow, I could say he's 2. Like he's very varied depending on the cameo. And I know cameos are a big feature in this game, but I don't think how fun your character should rely really heavily on a specific cameo. You should be able to venture out and try different pairings. When it comes to his strength, he is pretty good. I'd give him a 3. He isn't terrible, but he's not amazing either. When it comes to his difficulty, I would actually, weirdly enough, you might think I'm crazy for this, I'd give him a 4. I think that he is difficult to master, but he might be somewhat easy to learn. He's one of those characters that if you have a new friend playing this game, they'll hop on, play him and get a 6 or 7 hit combo and be really like happy with it, but it only did like 20% damage. So to get really effective damage with him, you have to work really hard and get really good cameo pairings with him, which for me isn't a bad thing. You have to work a bit harder with him, but for me, the effort that you have to put in just isn't really worth it. Omni-Man is next, and he's a character that I sort of knew would be in this part of the video. He's a character I tried to learn, and I played him for about a couple days, but then I didn't touch him for about a week, and then now I just forgot how to do his optimal combos. Like I just genuinely have forgotten. So in this video, you'll see me trying to go for his sort of better combos, and I just keep dropping them because I keep forgetting how to do them. I think that in terms of his fun factor, he is a 3 as well. He can be fun, but as I said, I've just somewhat forgotten how to play him for some reason. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 3. When it comes to his strength, I think he's a little bit lacking. He used to be really good, but he got a few nerfs and hasn't really gotten any meaningful buffs. So I'm going to give him a 2. I think that he could potentially reach 3 or 4 if given a couple more decent changes. When it comes to his difficulty, I'm going to give him a 3. I think he's one of those characters who you can get into quite quickly, but he's not really a character that, in my opinion, is worth the effort. You can get some really good damage though, and the satisfying combos make him a bit more worth it. But for me, he's just a character that doesn't stand out enough, really, unless you played him when he first came out. Now, I don't see that many people playing him, and I feel like he's just somewhat forgotten, which doesn't really impact where he is on this list, but I think he's a character that you can do well with, but you have to work just a tad bit harder. Another character that used to be really good but then got nerfed real bad, Peacemaker, I think is a character that is actually quite fun. I would give him a 3.5, but I want to make these be like whole numbers, so I'm going to give him a 4. Obviously, as it's a ranking video, it is in order. In terms of the strength and difficulty of characters, I'm not really counting that in terms of the ranking itself, because that doesn't determine anything. It's just the actual funness of them. And yeah, he's a 4, I would say. He has a lot of really fun strings and special moves, and I think it's really fun to pair certain moves together after his gunshot, because it stuns them. You can get in your Sonic Boom move or your weird torpedo move, which is also quite fun. You can pair that with cameo stuff, and it is just really fun. In terms of his strength, he's lacking. He's probably the worst character in the game, at least bottom 3, so I'm going to give him a 1. He isn't very strong, but he used to be. And in terms of his difficulty, I'm going to give him a 2. I think he's really easy to get into and not all that difficult to learn basic combos with, but if you want to get really good with him, it's the same with every character in the roster, really. He can be a 5 if you want to be the best that there is at him, but if you're just trying to play him and get some solid combos going, I'd say he is probably about a 2. So for our final character of this video, we have Johnny Cage. This might be controversial and not a lot of you like Johnny. This has nothing to do with personality or anything. I just think that he isn't very fun. I wouldn't think I would ever complain about a character having too many launches, too many ways to get combos going, but he just has so many, and it's just not that fun. And I think for some reason him not having his green energy stuff anymore weirdly impacts how much fun I have playing as him. So in terms of fun, I think he's still a 4, maybe a 3.5, similar to Peacemaker. In terms of his strength, he is pretty good. Not as good as he used to be, but I'd still give him a 4. He is really easy to pick up in terms of difficulty as well. Learning him won't take you that long once you get a good cameo pairing, and I think he's super easy to learn. And then if you want to master him, it'll take you a while, but not as long as a lot of other characters. And that's why I have him here. He can be really fun when you get the right cameo pairings and get some special moves going and pairings in terms of combos and strings. It can feel really, really fun to play him. which is why he is at the end of this video. But you know, every character in this video is lacking in some way, and that's why he made it onto this list. But let me know your least favorite characters to play in MK1. That's basically what this video was. In every other part that I'm gonna make, it obviously gets better from here. So consider subscribing, leaving a like, commenting, of course hype up the video if you did enjoy, just so I know you want to see a part 2, because sometimes it's hard to know what viewers are actually interested in. So liking, commenting, subscribing, hyping up the video would help the channel reach more people, and I'd really appreciate it. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to stay tuned for part 2, which should be coming relatively soon.